This is the Solutionary Voices podcast, and the solutionary framework is a process of identifying a problem you want to solve, and in that process, be better able to address some of the systemic problems that we face in the world. Does that ring true for you?
If I'm being aware of who I really, really am, then I am aware that everything is within me and you're within me and your voice is within me. And these two voices are within this one consciousness. When you see who you are, it's like drawing a circle around the whole universe. It's like you've got invisible arms. I have got invisible arms around the whole universe now as my true nature. That's love, and no one can stop you. Let's wake up out of our dream, our hallucination that we're behind a face, our coma, and see that the truth is very relevant to our problems in the world.
I'm Zoe Weil, and this is Solutionary Voices, a podcast brought to you by the Institute for Humane Education, an organization helping to build a more compassionate, just, and healthy world for all people, animals, and the ecosystems that sustain life. On this podcast, we bring together guests on the forefront of addressing local and global challenges and whose lives, ideas, and actions we hope will inspire you to find your own solutionary path. Today's guest, Richard Lang, represents a bit of departure for this podcast. Richard has been bringing the practice of the Headless Way to people around the world. Based on the teachings of Douglas Harding, who wrote the book On Having No Head, headlessness is less a solution to a problem than an awakening to our true nature, from which we might meet the world and each other with a perspective that I believe can help us address every situation and problem with greater presence, clarity, and love. Richard, welcome to Solutionary Voices.
Thank you, Zoe. It's a pleasure to be here. Lovely to see you.
Likewise. So my first question may not feel quite right in your context, but it's how we begin every episode of Solutionary Voices. And that question is, what problem are you working to solve?
So many problems come to mind. I mean, one is the end of life coming towards me. And that's not going to go away. And so I am contemplating that and how to die well as live well. And dying well involves living well. So my problem is writing this thing that I've never done before. But it is such a voyage of discovery with plenty of challenges and resistance and all of that.
I'm going to leave your metaphor behind, and I'm going to ask you to share with the audience what is the Headless Way, and maybe share some experiments that you learned from Douglas Harding and introduce the audience to headlessness.
For me, what the Headless Way is about, the heart of it is the awakening to the miracle that one is alive. This is the heart of it. It is not going through life taking for granted that you are. The heart of it is just this curiosity. What am I? What am I? And the Headless Way is a way of guiding our attention to looking into this question, what am I? Why is this important? Because if I am mistaken about what I am, that is not good for my life, really. So I will, I think I've just gone down a rabbit hole there, but let me put it this way, that when people look at me, they look at you, look at the viewer, look at the listener, they see a person. And that is because they are at a certain distance. So you on the screen will see Richard. And I am over here at, where Richard is, and I don't see Richard. And instead, when I look out, my hands disappear past my head here, into the space I'm looking out of. And when I look at Zoe now on the screen, I see Zoe's face, I don't see mine. And the Headless Way is just pointing to this fact that you can't see your own head. I can't see my own head now. I don't think anyone can see their own head above their own body. Now, what do you see? This is just paying attention to what it's like to be you. What do you see now? If you just pause and not go by what you think, really, or what you've learned, what do you see when you look in the place where people see your face or your eyes, see, or your head? And when I look here, and I'm hoping the viewer is just pausing for a moment in your busy life, you're alive, you're awake, to check out what it's like to be you. Now, this is not something new, this inquiry. All the great mystics for millennia have been, I would say, pointing out to people around them that they're not what they look like, that you're not what the one you see in the mirror. Let me just give you a fairy tale that shows what we're doing here. And it's the Emperor's New Clothes. So you'll probably know this story. And two con men come into town. They know the Emperor likes great clothes. They tell him they can weave the most amazing clothes for him at a great price. So he says yes. And as they're doing it, they say, well, but the thing is that if you are stupid, you won't be able to see these clothes, see. So when they finally finish the clothes and put it on the Emperor can't see the clothes, but he doesn't want to be stupid, so he says, oh, look, wonderful clothes. And the courtiers can't see the clothes, but they don't want to lose their jobs and be called stupid, so they say, wonderful clothes. The Emperor goes out on the street with his courtiers and rides down the main street, and all the crowds pretend they can see the clothes. You say, oh, wonderful clothes, because they don't want to be stupid. But in the crowd, there's a child. And the child just looks up and goes, oh, look, the Emperor's got no clothes. See, look, not think, not agree, not go by what someone, just look. It's a child who had not yet been understood that he was supposed to lie, really, to lie, and just look. And what Douglas Harding did, I think, was he was like a child, and he asked the question, what am I? See, and everyone says, oh, you're wearing clothes, you've got a face. See, you're behind a face. You're in a body, you're limited, you see. Everyone agrees, because you don't want to be stupid, you see. But what Douglas Harding did was, he was like the child, he went, look, except he turned his finger round to look back at the place you're looking out of, to see this wide open space, you see. Every so often, I think, something like this happens in human history. If someone comes along and says, look, and it might be, Galileo and the two stones, or it might be Copernicus, and it might be whoever. In this case, it was Douglas Harding who looked and saw he couldn't see his head.
This is the Solutionary Voices podcast, and the solutionary framework is a process of identifying a problem you want to solve, looking for its root and systemic causes, really investigating, innovating a solution, and implementing the solution. And when I asked you the question of what problem you're working to solve, in my mind, you're working to solve one of the most fundamental problems that exists, which is that we don't understand who we really are. Or maybe Douglas Harding came up with a root solution to that, a process for looking and discovering who we really are, and then shared that. And you're the lineage carrier of this way of looking differently. So in my mind, that's the problem that you're working to solve. I don't know if that resonates for you. And that makes you a solutionary in my book. And I wonder if you believe, as I do, that this process of discovering who we really are can help us become the most loving, present versions of ourselves. And in that process, be better able to address some of the systemic problems that we face in the world. Does that ring true for you?
if I'm being aware of who I really, really am, as you described it there, which I am, then I am aware that everything is within me, and you're within me, and your voice is within me. And these two voices are within this one consciousness. There's a very slow process for me in terms of understanding and surrender to the truth, really, but recognizing that the one in front of me is myself, because I'm empty for them. And how can I go on mistreating people or being insensitive to people or all of that when I am experiencing this no dividing line? So I think you are your environment. I am the garden. I am the birds. I am you. I am the listener.
When I was first introduced to the Headless Way, it was on the Waking Up app. And I was really intrigued. And you did a series of experiments, these little experiments that you do in sort of each of the episodes of that series. And I would do these experiments, and I really wanted to get it. Plus, I loved listening to your voice. So I did it. I listened to them. I sort of got it, but I sort of didn't get it. Partly it was because I would have all these thoughts like, okay, I can't see my head, but that's just because of the placement of my eyes. I can feel my head. I can look in the mirror. I know my head exists. It's not like, yes, like my hands will disappear behind my head visually, but I just didn't quite get it. I sort of got it. And then 2 years later, I took this meditation course that asked us to do Headless Way experiments and sent us to your website. And suddenly I got it. But it took a long time because honestly, it is an awakening, right? It is suddenly I realized I was space for everything. You had said those words, but suddenly I realized what you meant. It's not that you don't have a head, like I can feel my head. It's that you can't see your head. Where you exist is boundless. It's invisible. It's only space for everything. And at any moment, I can tap into that now. But it took me a while. And I'm imagining people who are watching this or who are listening to it, so they can't even see what we're talking about. You know, if you point your finger toward your face and you realize you can't see your head, or if you move your hands past your ears and they disappear, they can't see us doing that because they're listening. And I could imagine people saying, so what? Which was kind of what I was feeling. So I'm sure you've experienced that before. And I'm just wondering if it's not working for somebody and they really want to get it. Is there anything else you say or do? Or is it just like you either get it or you don't get it? And the moment that it happens, suddenly, I am space for everything.
Well, first, congratulations. You know, I mean, it's just tremendous news that you found your way to it. If someone invites me to share this, to explain what it is, I suppose, I tell you what I do. If I'm in front of them, I just, in a very unintrusive way, I just be with them, and I look at them. I say, well, I describe my experience. I can't tell you what it's like where you are. And I say, well, look, I'm just with you now. I'm looking at you, and I don't see my face. And instead of my face, I have yours, and I love it. It's wonderful, you see. Now, as I'm saying that, of course, I'm sensitive to how they're reacting. And if they break out in a great big beaming smile, well, I know that we can carry on. But if there's resistance, I suppose I probably back off. You know, there's absolutely no point. Or if someone says, well, of course I can't see my head, but so what? You say, well, maybe they've been meditating and it really, you've been meditating and you don't want it, and you haven't been meditating and it's exactly what the doctor ordered. It's very mysterious. And so when I go around sharing it, I go around sharing my experience, because that's all I can share. I can't tell you what it's like where you are. I believe you're in the same wonderful condition as I am, but I leave that to you. And it's not my business in a way, and my business is to enjoy it, to be aware of it, and to celebrate it, and to talk about it is part of my celebration.
Right, you get the so what, which I've experienced at the beginning, but I was still so intrigued, I kept going back.
Why were you intrigued?
That's a great question. I was intrigued because I had an inkling. I loved listening to you. I wanted what you had. This experience, this awareness, this awakening, enough to keep trying. I guess that's the answer. One of the things that I really appreciate about the Headless Way and you and your teaching is, you're not a guru, you're not a priest. No one has to believe anything. There's nothing esoteric about this. It's just whether you experience or not. I don't know what you would be doing with your life right now had you not met Douglas Harding when you were 17.
Well, one of the things that Douglas said later, when he used to talk about coming across it at 17 and valuing, he said, what a great age to wake up to who you really are. It gives you a kickstart to your life, you see. And I always wondered, what did that mean, a kickstart? Well, if you kickstart a motorbike, you rev it, it's suddenly going, right? It is like that. It's suddenly like, whoa, what have I got behind me? This infinite power. I mean, there's nothing better than it. It is just so exciting and so life-affirming. And so, it doesn't, life is full of problems. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. You see, and usually the problems are exactly the ones you don't want. I mean, really. Otherwise, it's not really a problem. But having this resource behind you, within you, that you are, see, I mean, the whole thing about dying. See, well, don't leave it to, sorting out what you think about death to your deathbed. It's kind of late. Start getting used to being the timeless one in which things come and go now.
Are you always able to live in that place of headlessness and being awake? Or are there times, because a problem is too big, or, you're in physical pain, or you've experienced something that is so troubling or so distressing that this awareness goes away for a while? And then how do you get it back? Or is what I just said just not really true for you?
Oh, yes, it's true. At first, I certainly experienced distress, and sometimes in terms of my own, Richter scale, sometimes going off the Richter scale. Life is, gets serious at times in that way. But I would say that two things, it's kind of paradoxical really, is first of all, well, I would say that it's there all the time, but it's not necessarily on the front burner, sometimes it's on the back burner. But it's there. And it's like if you love someone, you don't have to think about them all the time. And just because you haven't thought about them for an hour doesn't mean you don't love them. It's like love. It's like falling in love. And so it's there. You don't worry about it. Because every time you look, it's there. Here. You see. It never goes away. So gradually it sinks in that it never goes away. It's always here. It's on your side. It's kind beyond belief. And the other thing is, because people get that thing, can I see who I am all the time? It's kind of like trying to stretch it out. Stretch out the timeless. You can't stretch it out. In a certain sense, in a very real sense, I can only be aware of it now. And I can't tell you if I was aware of it 5 minutes ago. And I'm aware now, enjoying being aware now that I am this crystal clear space full of you and full of the situation evolving as it, it's a living, evolving situation. All you have to do to bring it into consciousness is look. I mean, it's for idiots like me, not like you, but it's for those who failed at everything else. You might think this is the final option, but it's the best one.
So let's get back to death. Has this awareness changed how you perceive death? And you started off with the problem that death is approaching. You're closer to it than you were when you met Douglas Harding. Although, death could have happened at 17 and a half. It just didn't. How does headlessness impact your relationship to death?
I can understand the idea that I'm closer to death now than I was when I was 17. But I don't think I am, actually. And if I step back to say, well, from a great distance, I'm a galaxy, and you come towards the galaxy, and then you'll find the solar system, and then you come up to the solar system, and you get to the Earth, and you come up to the Earth, and you'll get to England, and you'll come up to England, you get to London, and you come up closer, and you get to Richard, but keep going, and you get to a cell, and you get to a molecule, and you get to an atom, and you get to a particle, and almost nothing. And I'm right at the center, and I say, well, right at the center, it's nothing. See? So in other words, I've got regions around me. Now, death inhabits those regions and has power over the galaxy. The galaxy will die. Obviously, within the galaxy, the star will die. The planet will die. Human nature will die. My cells are dying all the time. But death cannot get from that final particle into the center where there's nothing. See, death dies, death trips up and can't. It bangs at the door. This was Douglas Harding's idea. He said, death, it's shy. Death is shy. It keeps its distance. See, the one in the mirror will die, and my planetary face will die, and my cells are dying, but that's where death has power. It doesn't have power at the center. It can't get here. See, and as you say, well, St. Paul said, death, where is your power? Where's your sting, you see? And Douglas said, well, about 2 feet away. That's where it hurts, but not at center. It's not like I'm closer to death. I mean, in the normal way, yeah, I am. I'm 73, and so, got a few years left. And so in that way, that's true. But that's Richard, see, not me, not me at center. That's me on the periphery. And sorting that out, it makes a huge difference. Now, I want to do things before I die. I don't want to die today, and I don't want to suffer when I die, and I don't want my friends to die, in a bad way or now, or, so I'm not free of all those normal feelings, but back of it all is this truth. It's the truth that sets you free, and not a kind of nice philosophy. It is real at its own level, you see. But what is also real at its own level is who is at the center.
If everybody experienced this, how do you think the world would be different?
Actually, in my own experience, in a way, I live already in a seeing society, in a headless society. Now, it's within the larger society that it doesn't recognize it, but within that, well, I mean, it's not perfect, it's not utopia, but it is very exciting to be with people who are awake to the fact that we're many and we're one, and that we're in each other. This is exciting. It's as infectious as being self-conscious at the human level, which is highly infectious. I mean, that's what how it happens. To wake up to who you really are with others, it's just darshan. It's just hugely infectious. So it's very exciting to be in a society, where this is on the front burner, and you can talk about it. And there's that ripple of relief that spreads through the crowd when we don't have to pretend anymore. But the other thing is that then you don't separate that from the rest of society and say, well, we've got it and they don't, because you're seeing there's no dividing line, and you're seeing it for everyone. And the person in the shop who hasn't, heard about it, you have got their face, and you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to say anything. You are doing it for them, as them, you see. There's plenty of attentions go on in a community where this is recognized, because we've got our human nature and human conditioning. But there's a depth and a beauty and a love. The thing is that when you recognize that your true nature, you recognize it true for everyone, and whether they acknowledge it or not. And what I deeply believe in is this is where, you shift from being a teacher to being a friend, because you recognize, of course, that the other person is looking out of emptiness and they have your face and their own. And that you can't do it worse or better. So, I can't be aware of this more clearly than the other person, even if it's the moment they first recognized it, equal, totally, because of what it is. Everyone's response to this is interesting.
That experience of oneness, I am space for you, you are space for me, we are one consciousness. We live in such a polarized societies, and there's so much focus on us and them. What headlessness does, at least in my experience, is it creates, we're all us. There is no them. And I think that's what motivated my question, that if we can all really experience this very, very simple insight that is like a flash of knowing, it really does change, at least for me, the valence of my interactions. Then I just live in this state of love. And it doesn't matter if the other is somebody I disagree with or does things that are harmful. I can wish that they didn't do those things. I can work to change the system so those things don't occur. And I can still feel that love, that can happen simultaneously. That's why it feels so profound. That's why I wanted you on this podcast, because at the ultimate level, this podcast is meant to help people create a world where all life can thrive. And this is a vehicle toward that, at least for me.
I do feel, obviously, it is very important to get this around and to make it available to anyone who is open to it, and to do my best to indicate how practical it is, how powerful it is, how easy and simple and available it is for everyone. There's no hierarchy. This polarized society that you mentioned, start at home and see that, as you say, there's no dividing line. See the no dividing line, and then tell people that, that you find there's no dividing line. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. It's face to no face. Face to face is confrontation. And from the outside, okay, we're face to face, we're different, we understand that. But that's not the only perspective. That's the third person perspective of you and me. But the first person perspective is we don't confront each other. We just don't. It's not a matter of being a nice person. It's just that everyone is face to no face with others, is built open. And this is such a kind of non-political, non-denominational, non-religious thing. It doesn't mean to say that you have to accept, join a club or join this group or that. It's the opposite of that. Let's come out of our dream. It's a dream that we confront each other. It's so radical. The dream is I'm face to face with you. So what are you talking about? So, well, when I look, I only see one face. It's yours, see? And I don't have one in the way. I have nothing here to keep you out with. I'm not behind the surface, you see. You see, and I'm seeing that, and then telling you my response to that. And I'm that with the whole world. Let's wake up out of our dream, our hallucination that we're behind a face, our coma, and see that the truth is very relevant to our problems in the world. Confrontation, separation, and it not, as I say, being a nice person, primarily that. It's about seeing that you're not a person at center, you're a space for the other.
So when we met in India in January of 2025, you shared a poem by Edwin Markham. And that poem has stayed with me. And I'm wondering if you have it on the tip of your lips and could recite it. And if you could then share what it means to you.
He drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I, we had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. And so when you see who you are, it's like drawing a circle around the whole universe. It's like you've got invisible arms. I have got invisible arms around the whole universe now as my true nature. That's love. That's, you see, and no one can stop you. That's the thing about that bit. It's a longer poem. That bit of the poem is the other one can, huff and puff and draw a circle to keep you out. There's nothing they can do. When you see who you are, they're in. Stamping their feet.
So beautiful. So beautiful.
Just a delight to be with you and be together and two voices in one consciousness and be sharing this space. And, no doubt at all that we're on the same no page, right? But we've got different reactions. So just to say, a delight to be with you.
I have a final question. Although I will say that it is equally a delight for me to be with you, and I wish it could be in person so that we could put on some music and dance together the way we did in India, because that was really fun.
I love dancing.
I know. We both do. We had, a little bit of the reputation in India of being among the elders who were out there dancing, not caring who would watch. Okay, my final question for you is, what would you like your epitaph to be?
Good question. He did his best to share this wonderful truth.
Yes, he did his best to share this wonderful truth. And what's so great is that you're sharing it really widely. And there are so many vehicles to share it. And I can't wait for your biography of Douglas Harding. And in the meantime, there's an app and there's a website and you travel around and it's on the Waking Up app. It's all over the place. So thank you for planting all of these seeds of headlessness around the globe.
Well, you're part of it, Zoe, and we're all in it together, and we will never be able to praise the one we really are enough.
We are. Well, thank you so much, Richard. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Solutionary Voices and that you will follow Richard Lang's work. You can find his Headless Way app or visit his website and learn more about the Headless Way and do all the experiments. And if you like this episode and you think it's valuable to others, please share it and write a review, and I hope you'll subscribe. And if you'd like to be a solutionary yourself, I invite you to read my book, The Solutionary Way. Thanks so much.